Hey everybody, today we're going to look at push notifications and how we can integrate them into our Ionic application. You can see up here we have OneSignal up, and OneSignal really is the plugin and framework of choice. When adding push notifications into our application, I've personally used OneSignal to integrate push notifications into iOS, Android, as well as into the web. And you can see here that OneSignal is used by a ton of developers, a ton of big companies, and there are quite a few case studies which are interesting to read about. I won't go too deep into this now, but we're going to get into the nitty-gritty in just a minute. I just want to show you what we're going to end up using. So if you go to Ionic Native site, you can see here that Ionic Native does support the OneSignal plugin, and it makes it super easy to add it into our application. Very easy to install, and we're going to go through all of this, but there's no real extra work that we'll need to do to get started. And without further ado, let's get started. So to get started, we are going to create our Ionic project, and we'll make this just a blank project. And the next thing we're going to do after this thing is generated is we're going to add the OneSignal plugin, and then we will install the OneSignal plugin. You can see here, as usual with Ionic Native, we can just go down here, and these are really the commands we're going to copy. So we'll save the plugin, and then we're also going to install the Ionic Native plugin, not just the Cordova one. So now we're going to switch to our IDE, and we've opened up the config.xml file. This is where we're going to change our app ID, and we're going to make it something meaningful. So we'll do something like com.onesignal.push as an example, and we'll call this OneSignal Ionic. Now, this ID needs to be unique. So remember that anytime you're updating the ID in the config.xml file, it needs to be unique and no two apps in the App Store universe. So anywhere on Google Play, anywhere on the Apple App Store, this ID identifies one single application, so you can't reuse them and you can't use one that's taken. And this is just the display name. So when you download the app, you have the icon, and below it you have the name of the app. That's where this thing comes in. So now that we have these updated, we're going to go and generate our project, and we're going to rebuild it. So we're going to do Ionic, Cordova, build iOS. This is going to rebuild our project, and as soon as this is done, we're going to switch over to Xcode, and we're going to show how to get things set up and enable push notifications for our app. So our app built successfully. So the next thing we're going to do is open up our Xcode project. So we're going to go over here. So you can see here we have our platforms directory. So we're going to go into iOS. This is the platform we just built. Now there's two things that you could open. You can open this Xcode project, or you could open up this workspace. This workspace is the one that we're interested in. So we go ahead and we open up the workspace file. Just give it a second to load. And we are going to go and click on the top level project, which is the name that we gave it, if you remember, in our config.xml. So if we go back, you can see OneSignal Ionic, OneSignal Ionic. You'll notice here that we don't have a team, we don't really have anything set up for our application. So to do that, we can select our team, and this is the team that I'm going to select. Now the issue here is we are looking for, it does not have push notification entitlements. So what does that mean? So that means we need to switch over to this tab right here called Capabilities, and we're going to need to enable push notifications. So we will click this button, and you will see that it went and did all the things that we would need to have done manually. And if we switch back to general, this should have gone away, and it did. So now our application, as far as all the setup that we need to do, is all configured and all set. The last piece of configuration we're going to need to do is going to be on the OneSignal side. And as you can see, so far we have not written a single line of code. This is all configuration, and this is really the toughest and really the most tedious part of setting up push notifications. So let's head over to OneSignal. So here we've pulled up the OneSignal website, and I have another tab open off of the OneSignal website, which is documentation on how to set up our iOS push certificate. So there's a lot of steps involved to get the P12 file that we're going to need, which will allow OneSignal to communicate with Apple to send push notifications to our app. We're not going to go through these steps because OneSignal has really laid it out very, very easily, very simply. You can follow along here, and they have screenshots. It's really intuitive. If you do get stuck or have any questions, definitely leave a comment below. Another thing that I've played with and it works relatively well is OneSignal has a provisioning tool, and this tool will allow you to log in with your username and password that you would supply to Apple, and you would choose your app ID and go through all the steps here in sort of like a step-by-step process. And it's so if you were to use this tool, you wouldn't need to go through any of these steps over here. So that being said, we're gonna hop back over here. I'm gonna log in. I usually log in with my Facebook, and we are going to create a new app. We'll say add a new app, and we'll say Ionic push example app. And as soon as that's created, we're going to have the ability to now configure our app. So we're going to configure this for iOS, and I will pause the video up here. I'm going to go and generate this P12 file through the steps that are provided here, and I'll be back in just a second. So I thought I would just show this part. I entered my credentials to my developer account. I was able to select my team and then select the app from the drop down, and you can see here they have generated the P12 file, my certificate, and my PEM file, and they've also supplied the password. So the next step is we're going to head back to the other tab, and we're going to upload this P12 file. All right, so we're just going to go and grab this P12 file, and so we're just going to go and grab this P12 file, drag this in here, and we're also going to put in the password that they supplied. If you recall over here, the password is, and then we're just going to copy this password, put it in here. We're going to save this. Everything went well. Now, this next part over here, just remember, although we are developing an iOS app, we're not going to select native iOS because we're not building a native app. We're building a PhoneGap Cordova Ionic app, so we would select this guy. Go next. And over here, they have given us our app ID. So we're going to jot this down. We're going to put this on an editor, okay, off screen. And this app ID is now unique to us, and this is what we're going to use when we go and configure the OneSignal application in our Ionic app. We have no subscribed users, so if we say check subscribed users, you'll see that they're telling you it doesn't look like anybody has subscribed yet, and that's expected. So we're going to leave this open, and now we're going to go and actually get to the coding and register our app ID with our OneSignal plugin and get started. So heading back to our IDE, we are going to start in our app.module file. And the first thing we're going to do is import our OneSignal provider. And this came once we installed the OneSignal plugin from Cordova. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are also going to inject this push notification service that I created, and we're going to go through that file in detail in just a second. So this came from OneSignal, and this is something we created. So what is this push notification service? Well, this really is doing all the bootstrapping and setting up of OneSignal. It's a provider, so we decorated with the injectable decorator, and we are importing the platform provider and the OneSignal provider. If this is run on the web, the OneSignal plugin is going to crash. So in order to avoid that, we simply return once this push notification service is initialized. If we're on the web and essentially not on a mobile device, we're going to return Otherwise, we're going to continue down here, and we're going to take the plugin and we're going to initialize it with our app ID. And you'll recall this is the app ID that OneSignal gave us when we set up our app. We didn't do anything for Android. We didn't set up an Android ID. So this is just, a stub or a placeholder. So when we do end up generating our Android ID, we would plug that in here. The next thing we're saying is when a notification is opened, we are going to just let us know what's in that notification. And then finally, this is letting OneSignal know that, hey, we have done all the configurations that we need, so stop, finish the initialization process. The next thing we did is we're going to go to the app.component file, and all we did here was in the platform.ready, this function lets us know when our plugins are ready to be used. We just injected the push notification service provider, and we called the init function. So nothing too fancy here. So I have built this project, and we are going to run this against our simulator. And if everything goes according to plan, we should get an alert that says, hey, would you like to accept push notifications? So let's give that a shot. We're going to head over to Xcode, and we're going to run this against our simulator. All right, so you see here that we're presented with this alert. OneSignal Ionic, this is the name of our app, would like to send us notifications. Are we okay with that? So we're going to allow that. So now our app is ready to receive push notifications. Now, if you remember if we head back here, we had no subscribers, but now we've told OneSignal that, hey, we're okay with receiving push notifications. So if we click on check subscribed users, we see that the message has changed. So it's just letting us know that on a simulator we can't really do much with push notifications, and that's okay. So the next step is we're going to run this on an actual device. I'm going to pause the video and get this app running on my device, and we'll be able to interact with push notifications and OneSignal there. So I'll be back in just a sec. So now that we have this app running on my actual phone, I opened the app up, and you see that we did get this same message. So I'm going to allow push notifications. And now let's head back to OneSignal. Let's check subscribed users. Lo and behold, so here, congratulations, your first user. So it has acknowledged that I have accepted push notifications. So this is great. Now let's actually test this. So let's go ahead and try and send myself a push notification. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, I'm going to sleep the screen on my phone, and I'm going to send myself a push notification. Push test. Hello, this is a test message. We're going to go next. We're not going to send any additional data for now. This is great to see because when you're constructing your push notifications, these are all the options that it can come with. So we're going to go next, confirm, and we're going to send the message. And in about a second, all right, there we go. So you can see here, push test, hello, this is a test message. And if we go and we open this up, you'll see that we see this alert. So why do we see this alert? Well, the reason for that is if you go back to our push notification service, we said that when the push notification is opened, we are just going to throw up an alert and stringify our notification. And you can see here the entire payload is here. And this is really useful because there may be times when, for example, in a messaging app, we are going to go and receive messages from people, and the app is going to need to route the user to that conversation. So it would need to capture this notification and grab a message ID and all that stuff in order to route to the right place. So this worked great. Now I'm going to show one other thing. So we're going to go back here, and I'm going to send another push notification. So we're going to go back, and let's go and send another push notification. I'm not gonna wait, we're just gonna do 1, 2, and 3. Next, next, confirm, and send. Now you'll notice that we received the push notification and when our app was running, and that's not really desirable, at least not for most use cases. If I'm using an app and something happened, I really don't want a push notification to come up. I would rather the app change somehow, maybe see a red notification icon or something, but I wouldn't want to be presented with a push notification. So how do we fix that? How do we not have that happen? Well, there's actually a pretty interesting command which we can set up over here, and it's going to be the in focus displaying. So we're just going to copy and paste that in here. So this is saying is if the app is open and we receive a push notification, do not show the notification in the app. So we're going to close this out and we are going to rebuild, and we'll rerun this app and come back in a sec. Alright, so this app has been the app rebuilt and I just finished running it on my phone. So we're going to go back here, and again we're going to go back and we're going to try and send it a push notification. And if this command did take effect, when we send the notification we should not see an alert come through. So we're going to go here, 1, 2, 3. Well, let's make it cooler. We'll say hello, new message, how are you? And we're gonna go next, next, confirm, and send. This sent, and you'll see that we did not get anything. Now, just to show that push notifications are still working, we're going to we're gonna just lock the iPhone, and then we're gonna go and send that same message again. Next, we're gonna say hello, how are you? This is Gadir. Next, next, confirm and send. And we received our message. And when we open this, so we're gonna go and open this guy, and we're hitting our function right here. So this all works great, and we can send push notifications and receive them. Now the real question is, well, we were able to do this for all users, right? But how do we go and target push notifications so we can send them to one specific user? Well, the way that we can do that is there is a function that OneSignal provides called getIDs. GetIDs returns two things. It returns the user ID and the user's push token. So one thing I like to do is I like to just look at the actual source code. So if you click here, and we're going to go to getIDs, you'll see here, lets you retrieve the OneSignal user ID and device token. Your handler is called after the device is successfully registered with OneSignal. And this returns a promise, which gives us a user ID and a push token. So if we're to go here and write this out, this would look something like this dot OneSignal getIDs. It's a promise. And we can do a console.log on IDs. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's do an alert. So let's alert IDs.user ID. Let's do an alert on IDs.pushToken. And we're gonna rebuild this app and we're gonna rerun it, and we should see what my user ID and push token are on the OneSignal side. So I'm gonna pause this and we'll be back in a second. Alright, so there was one tiny mistake that I made. We actually can't call the getIDs function until we have ended the initialization of the OneSignal plugin. So if we had tried to do this over here, that actually won't work because the OneSignal plugin needs to be initialized first. So we place it down here, and just a tiny change here is I'm just telling you what we're outputting. So I'm now running this on my device, and you can see that the user ID is bb whatever, and the next one is the push token, which is db11 blah blah. So these are the tokens that we can use. Really, we would use the user ID with OneSignal. The push token is there to identify the push token of the device, and the user ID is the OneSignal user ID tied to this app, this user. So OneSignal has a super rich API where we can send push notifications to specific users. In this example, in this video, we're really not going to go that detailed. So I think this is where we'll end this. But if you are interested in seeing how we can do that, so how we can write let's say a Node.js script to go and send a specific user or a specific set of users a push notification, leave a comment below. I'll be happy to cover that. Yeah, and if you have any questions at all, please leave a comment. I'm always happy to answer things. If you like this video, please let me know if there's anything else that could have been done differently, things you didn't like. I'm happy to change that. Until next time, see you later.